I'd like to talk about diet and grief. Does diet have an impact on the symptoms of grief? And my experiences of that, how I feel my diet has an impact on my symptoms of grief. But before we delve into that, I'd like to say hello. I'm Ghazala at the Heart and Soul Cafe. If you've been here before, thank you so much for coming back. I so appreciate it. And if you're here for the first time, then welcome aboard. Pull up a chair and let's talk. Diet. If I give you a little bit of history, first of all, about where I'm at, I think that would then make sense moving forward. So around about 15, I would say 15, at least 15 years ago, maybe even 20 years ago, I came to the conclusion that if I consume a high carbohydrate diet, it doesn't really have a very good effect on me physically and mentally. And by the way, I'm not a qualified nutritionist, I'm not a doctor. Anything that I share in this video isn't all, this is what you should be doing from any professional standpoint. It's just my experiences and my perspective and my points of view. Okay, so I just want to share that first of all. So I found that if I was on a high carbohydrate diet, it didn't have a very positive effect on me physically, meaning that symptoms would be holding a lot of water tension, putting on weight quite easily, feeling bloated perhaps, and that would have a mental effect on me negatively, but not just on the basis of I'm putting on weight or about body image. I felt that it had an actual direct negative effect on my mental health, the high sort of levels of carbohydrate, sugar perhaps. So as the years went on, I found that I was following, quite a low carbohydrate diet, and I would, be taking in more, proteins and fats, and I felt mentally, much better on that and physically, absolutely. So a lot of that water tension I felt was going. I felt that the bloated feeling wasn't really anything that I was experiencing anymore. So it was really, taking out breads and naan breads and rice pretty much out of my diet and filling that more with sort of proteins and good fats. And I felt that I was doing much better on that. So that's how I had been, diet-wise, how I had been living my life, and then obviously exercise with that, which has a positive effect as well. Then it came to the point where I had my big event, negative event in my life, which was, losing my son. And then things changed. Initially I found it so difficult to eat at all. The days, weeks and months that followed, it was so difficult. The days that followed, I couldn't actually swallow. The actual mechanism of swallowing wasn't working. I had such a lump in my throat which was stopping me from actually swallowing. So actually eating was so difficult. And I remember dropping so much weight and just looking really gaunt and feeling, lifeless. And that's really where I was. Life had stood still for me. But slowly I began to, those initial feelings of not being able to physically eat did subside a little bit, and I was feeling a little bit better in the fact that I could actually eat. But then it came to the fact that I was thinking, what I am eating, I'm just eating when I'm really hungry and not caring about what I eat. And I felt that if I sort of thought about my history of how I felt better on a healthier diet, I started thinking along those lines. Well, surely then, if I'm eating just whatever when I'm hungry, and not actually thinking about what I'm eating, or thinking that I should be having a nutritious meal when I am eating and sort of feeding myself nutrition, then surely that's going to have a negative effect on my symptoms of grief. So I slowly started putting things back into place with my diet, and slowly but surely it had started having a positive impact on me, mentally and physically. And I believe that my symptoms of grief were more manageable when I was eating more healthily. And I therefore feel and believe that, looking after things that you have control on has a positive impact on things that you can't control, which are experiencing grief and being on this bereavement road, as I refer to it. And that's how I see it. And I do counsel women who are experiencing grief, who have also experienced child loss. So I do that. And I do, on our sessions, I do talk about, aspects of their life and, what kind of things they have in place, depending on obviously how long it's been since they've had their loss. And sometimes it's been, 2 years, 3 years, and they're still possibly in a place where they're not really functioning, not being able to get on with the things that they need to get on with, and that's affecting, and it's having an impact on their life in other ways. For example, on their relationships. And we know that, studies show that 7 out of 10 marriages end in divorce after child loss, and it has so you can just see how, what kind of impact these things have on relationships, on family dynamics, and your lifestyle, and every aspect of your life. So, as I say, there's some things that we can control, but there's some things that we can't control. So what we can control to a certain extent is our diet. And that's where I felt that I needed to take responsibility. I needed to take responsibility of what I was doing, how I was eating, and that then having a positive impact on my symptoms of grief. So what I found was things such as, going on a ketogenic diet helped. And I'm not saying that we should all go on a ketogenic diet. That's not why I'm sharing this. What I'm sharing is what I felt, what I experienced. So lowering my carbohydrate intake, I felt had a positive impact on my mental health and my physical health. So I did follow a ketogenic diet for quite some time. And this was prior to losing my son, and then onward afterwards as well. I also have dabbled in even more lowering my carbohydrate intake, and sort of following more of a carnivore diet, and I felt that had a positive impact as well, but not necessarily being on a carnivore diet for a long space of time, but switching from ketogenic and carnivore. I felt that sitting with that, it was doing well for me. So ketovore is sometimes what it's referred to, and I do refer to it as a ketovore diet pretty much myself as well, where I switch from keto to carnivore quite a lot, and where I sit comfortable with it is where I do I think feel my best and function my best. And then with brain fog, it helped with that. I felt more of a clarity with my thought system, and how my brain's, my cognitive functioning improved with that as well. And that then has a positive impact on my work, because my work does mean that I need to remember things, and I need to be on board with what I'm talking about, whether I'm delivering mental health first aid, or whether I'm counselling, you know, I need to be able to think clearly, and you know, I'm not going to be much of a help if I keep losing my train of thought, and you know, because I've got so much brain fog, that's not going to help me with my work and my performance and my delivery. So I need that. I need to, you know, be able to function at my optimal level with what I'm carrying, and being realistic about that and being mindful about that. So that is some of the things I do. Now, so what I do is I consume good quality meat. I do consume liver as well, because of the high levels of vitamin A, and that has a positive effect on you and your iron levels as well, obviously. So I do consume good quality meat, which includes some organ meat. Vegetables, I'm pretty much, you know, take some, leave some. So there's certain vegetables I like to eat, which are like mushrooms and onions, and I do take those quite a lot in my diet. Dairy, typical dairy, I mean, I don't take lots of cheeses, but I do enjoy cheese now and again. Kefir, so good sort of quality organic sort of yogurt I take. Fruits, I sometimes take low carbohydrate fruit like berries, but not on a daily basis. And then I enjoy things like, you know, dark chocolate. I might have a little bit of peanut butter that doesn't have you know, added sugar, those sort of things. So I do give myself treats as well, because it's very difficult to go through life, you know, feeling that, you know, you're depriving yourself of this and depriving yourself of that, and that's not good for your mental health either. So I do have little treats as well to keep me motivated and keep me actually on the diet in itself. So I do that. Fats, good quality fats. I do have organic butter, which I add to my diet, and you know, for women at a certain age, I have researched that, you know, it has a positive impact on women, you know, slightly maturer women, and we need good quality fat. So I do consume that, mainly butter, but ghee are the main ones that I consume. But you know, good quality olive oil is also good, much better than any sort of seed oils, I would say. But again, this is my opinion and what I found. I'm not basing it on any factual information. It's my perspective. So I just wanted to share this with you, that I do feel, you know, healthy diet has a positive impact on us physically and mentally. And if you're carrying things like grief, you know, a poor diet is going to exacerbate those symptoms. And that's pretty factual, isn't it? I mean, we know that. So when I talk to my clients, I do delve into a little bit, you know, obviously if they want to share kinds of things that they, you know, what kind of lifestyle they have. Again, depending on how long it's been since their loss. Because if it's obviously really early days, then we're not going to expect any kind of pattern or routine, perhaps. And, you know, and you know, we're not going to get that. But as time goes on, we're hopefully going to get to a place where we've got some kind of routine in our life back again, and routine of, you know, certain exercise, whether that's walking or whether that's, you know, going for a swim or anything that you know, that is your go-to, then we've hopefully put that back into place again. And then diet as well. It's not just a matter of filling our stomachs when we're hungry, but thinking about our meal before that meal time comes. You know, what am I going to have for my next meal? That's going to give me some nutrition. That's going to give me some good fuel that I can go on with. And, you know, that fuel is then going to help me heal from something that I'm experiencing. And that healing is, you know, healing yourself, you know, with loss. And, you know, we're never going to heal completely. We're never going to get to that place we were prior to our loss. We know that there's a new, you know, it's like rediscovering yourself. And rediscovering yourself means, where are you at with your lifestyle as well, and what kind of things can we do to help us function well, and what kind of things can we do where we are consistent with that. Okay, so it's not a matter of just putting things into place for a week or 2 weeks or a month. It's what can we do that we can have as a lifestyle change, rather than going on to some kind of a fad diet or some kind of thing where we're just on it for a short space of time, and then after that we're going to go back to how we were before. We're not going to get any positive results that way. So it has to be something that's realistic for you, and things that you can maintain and stick to, and that's important. Having a routine, I find, so helps, and my diet is a part of that routine. Routine is actually something that's good for most of us. Most of us fall into and do well on a routine, but if you're experiencing loss and you're grieving, trying to put some kind of a routine in your life will help. And I would like to say here that with grief, you need to give grief time as well. So you're not just pushing it out and thinking, oh, I'm just going to put all these things into my day, and not acknowledge grief and give it the attention it needs, because I feel that then it's going to build up and come to a surface in an overwhelming way perhaps. So you do need to check in with grief as well, and make sure that you address that in your day. I feel so. I do that very much in the morning. When I'm I've shared in other videos where I meditate and I do breath work, and then I check in, and then I sort of analyze myself and say, where am I today in my my grief continuum, because I see it as a continuum. Where am I there? And if I'm doing well, great. And if I'm not doing so well, then what can I put into place to help? Is that due to I've had too many meals out with the children perhaps, and eaten things that I shouldn't have eaten, and I know that has a detrimental effect on my mental health and my grief, so I will probably be not feeling too good. Have I been out of my routine? Have I been away on holiday perhaps, and not being able to give myself attention of the things that I usually do to keep my health in check? And if that's the case, can I just rein in on that and just refocus and put things back into place to help me feel better. So that's it really. I just wanted to share my diet experiences and just that part of my life, and it might be a help to somebody. If you feel that someone would benefit from watching this video, please share. That would be lovely. And if you found the content of this video useful in any way, comment, like, subscribe. That will be brilliant. Again, it's my dream, I would say, and my goal to build a community where we can build this community and we can have each other's back and check in on each other and say, I'm having a bit of a difficult day today, and someone comes in and messages back and says, maybe you could try this, maybe you could try that, and and you're not alone. And that's one of the main messages I want to think of. I really want to focus in on, because I do think about that person who's sat here watching this video, who is very much alone, who is grieving, who has experienced loss. And I think, reaching out to you, and who you are, and just to say, you're not alone, just reach out, and there's lots of us who will be willing to listen, and that's it. Okay, so thank you so much for listening. Thank you so much for coming to the Heart and Soul Cafe again. I so appreciate it, and hopefully I'll see you in the next video. Thank you so much. Take care.